So we're going to call the meeting to order. We have everybody here. Any additions to the agenda? I didn't see any.
There are none.
Okay. Everybody got the agenda? Do we have an approval of the
I move that
agenda?
we approve the agenda.
A motion from Rick, a second from Cheryl. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Carried. Anybody for public comment?
All right.
I just want to address one item on public comment. At the May board meeting, we had parent and student that did address the board with public comment. I have responded to those requests, and just so the board is aware, one of the things that's going to be taking place over the summer is just a review of all of our activities and what that those processes look like, and how we go about whether it's membership or application. That is something that I'm going to work on this summer. I'm hopeful to have something to the board as just an update summary by the August business meeting, so that last meeting in August. Okay?
Very good. Okay, we have the consent agenda, which has the minutes, the treasurer's report, and personal items. The minutes, I'm sure everybody read. Cheryl, do you have something on the treasurer's report you might want to add?
No, I did review the bills, didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Okay, I see we have a donation also from Jefferson National and personal items. So that's a consent agenda. If there's no discussion, we just need...
Can I just give you an update on the
Go for
personnel
it.
side of things? The resignations, Marilyn Herzberg is resigning her position in food service, and Diane Schultz is just resigning the school patrol. That was a co-advised activity, so the other advisor is going to just take the leadership role in that entire organization. Summer targeted services hours are there for your review. That's pretty standard, very typical, looks almost identical to last summer is what I've been told. Summer van drivers as well should be very similar to what the board has reviewed in the past. So be my recommendation to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Thomas. I'll second it. A second from Bruce. Any further discussion?
I'd like a little more information on the Jefferson National Life Insurance donation.
There was a resident who, the name's escaping me, but had passed away, and in their estate, they had left the money for the school district.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Carried. Okay, we're now on communication items, so we'll go to the person in charge.
All right, I have just a couple of items. First one is Infinite Campus. That transition has started. It's like any other transition. Some things have gone really well, and we get really excited about it, and then sometimes we say, oh. So it's had some ups, it's had some downs. The one good thing is Infinite Campus is certainly there, and as far as customer support and everything, so far they have been extremely helpful to work with, and will keep troubleshooting with us as we work through the transition from GMC to Infinite Campus. The other one I just want to update as far as personnel goes, we do have a couple of positions that are still not filled. We have a posting out for a food service position. We also have a posting for school nurse. And then our third position is our Innovation Center facilitator. The Innovation Center facilitator, I think we will have some interviews coming up here after the 4th of July, so that one I think will get taken care of. And then I would expect school nurse and the food service position to be filled shortly after that. So my hope would be at the July board meeting, when we're doing a bunch of organizational items for the year, we're also going to have the board approve our final contracts for the year. It would be absolutely perfect to have all that taken care of in July. So that's the hope with that. Otherwise, summer work is going. The monitors in here were in addition this week, so those just got recently put up. And if you walk around the buildings, you will see there's chaos in just about every hallway. So that's about par for the course. And custodial crew's working hard, and we'll be ready to go come back to school in August. Questions, Doc?
I have a question. When's the projected go live date for Infinite Campus?
The go live is going to happen in July. I'm not sure if it's going to roll on July 1. I would say for sure by July 8 it will be going. The other question is as far as some of these data transfer issues that we have discovered. I'm hopeful actually we could maybe do a retransfer of some data, and I would actually like to see the go live date maybe pushed off until that's done. Obviously the goal is to have as much of the data in the right place and perfectly aligned when it goes live as priority. And so if that means we're going to hold off a little bit, I would be in favor of that.
What are the parents going to have to do for getting access?
Yep, it's very similar to JMC. There's
They'll have to
gonna-
start over though.
Well, there's going to be they're going to get an email is what's going to end up happening, and there'll be an email that'll walk them through the Infinite Campus portal. Infinite Campus has more services, so they're going to be able to have more options to select from. If you want weekly report card or grade updates, if you want food service updates, if you want the attendance alert, so you can really have whatever it is as a parent you would want to select. So it's just a matter of once that go live is done, then getting that out. And we may actually push that off to closer to August when we're having open house, so we have people that can actually sit down with people and answer questions as well.
Open house tomorrow?
Yeah, so the first referendum open house is tomorrow. It will be 6 o'clock in this building. We will start down in the auditorium. It is truly an open house model, so people do not need to be here at 6 o'clock. They can show up whenever is convenient for them. There will be about a 10 or 15 minute presentation in the auditorium, and then that first group who's ever here at 6 o'clock, by about 6:10, 6:15, they will have access to the experts in different areas in the gymnasium and can get, if they want more information on tax impact, Hellers will be here. If they want more information on how the actual addition will be constructed, Kevin Thuringer, the architect, he will be here. If they want more information from Matt Dickhausen about what community ed would be doing differently with this addition, Matt Dickhausen will be here and the likes. And so it will be an open house model. People can come anytime between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock and to get the information they're seeking. And if they're here just a little bit after 8 o'clock, I'm sure we'll still be here for them to be able to get questions asked as well.
We have all the website stuff ready to go?
The website is going to be ready to go. We'll go live after the 4th of July.
Okay.
Do you need all of us to be there tomorrow at all?
This is not a board meeting tomorrow. Thank you for bringing that up. There is no board meeting. You are all welcome to come to that event. As far as I'm concerned, you are citizens at that event, and if you want to come and get more information, you sure can, but it is not a school board meeting. It is just an open house having to do with the referendum.
If you are there, my guess is you will get questions because people know you're on the school board, and anything you can redirect them right to Matt.
Yep.
It's probably the easiest way, but if you're there, it will happen. And
And if we're there, we shouldn't all stand together,
yeah, that'd be a good idea.
at least no more than 3 at one place.
Well, I would just encourage you, if you're there, you're coming as a community member. You don't need to get together
Right.
and do anything. You're
Correct.
there as a community member,
Right.
gather the information you want, and as far as I'm concerned, go home. I think the weather's supposed to be beautiful.
Zach's sitting in the car, so I'll be there.
So are you doing other presentations?
I will. Every half hour, I will start a new presentation in the auditorium, and then who's ever there can join for that. And if they don't want to go to that, they don't have to. They can go right to the gym and talk to the people that have specific answers for specific components of the project.
Is there going to be time, or do you think people are going to ask a lot of questions there, or they'll be more directed, like you said, into the gym?
No, I
ask
think they'll be
specific-
more directed into the gym.
Okay.
The goal here is to be able to have one-on-one
Okay.
conversation is really what it is. And so I think certainly if people have questions, I'm not going to turn them away.
Right.
I will visit with anybody who wants to visit about it, but I do think, I would bet 90% of the questions they're going to ask, somebody
They can get in the gym.
is going to
Perfect.
have content that's ready and available for them. Okay?
Anything else for Matt? Okay, the next one's committee reports. And we have a lot of negotiations going on. And
Can I just give a quick update on them? So we're meeting with everybody. The teachers meet again actually tomorrow morning. Food service, custodians, paraprofessionals will meet again on Friday morning. Food service, paraprofessionals, and custodians have another meeting scheduled for July 11th. So yeah, we're right in mid-swing here. And the thing I can tell you is I believe good progress is being made and we are on track. I am extremely hopeful that we have these contracts done this summer. The more I meet with these groups and we talk, I think that is the plan. So board, be ready. We're going to bring contracts when we have them ready, and the goal is to get them done this summer.
Okay, then we'll go to student representatives, if either of you have anything.
Just one item. Just wanted to say how well commencement ceremony was. It was done in just an hour, so that's pretty good timing. And it was great to see the great turnout of teachers and staff supporting the graduates. So I hope that continues to grow and more teachers participate in that. Just like to thank Mr. Bullard, Mr. Hewitt, Mrs. Leindecker, and the rest of the school board for making the commencement very memorable and, I guess, enjoyable, too. So, thank you.
Anything, Ashley?
No.
Okay, then we are on district goals.
I have nothing, Bruce.
Nothing changing there.
Right.
So then we're on new business, 2019-20 budget, and Matt sent them out to us.
Yep, so you should have the one-sheeter that is the budget, and this is, it should look familiar. This is the same budget that you reviewed in April, and there isn't anything that has changed with it. We'll start right at the top. What I look for when we talk about does the school district have a balanced budget, to me, Fund 1, General Unassigned, that is the line item that I am looking at to make that determination. So right now, we are projecting just over $8.2 million in general fund revenue, and we are projecting just over $8.2 million in general fund expenditures. If our projections are accurate, we should have about a $53,000 surplus next year. Given that we're talking about an $8.3 million, $8.23 million budget, a $53,000 surplus is, I think, fair to be, if we hit that, I would be pretty happy with that. Couple of other items as you look down, the assigned accounts, those are basically revenues in, expenditures out, so those do typically end up zeroing out on an annual basis. The QCOM component, that is money in and out usually. I just want the board to understand the reason that that is deficit spending is due to the new PBIS initiative. That is a decision the district has made, is to be able to bring that initiative forward with using QCOM dollars. So once we are moving on and have PBIS implemented, that would correct itself. The OPEB benefits, that will always be a deficit as long as we have people that we are paying post-employment benefits to. That is a line item that our auditors require us to set aside. We don't have revenue coming in, that's why the revenue line is zero. And so we are projecting next year to spend just about $38,000 in post-employment benefits, and so that's why it's a deficit. Again, in the fall, when the auditors come, they're going to look at our contracts, they're going to look at what our post-employment liabilities are, and they're going to determine what it is we need to have in that fund balance in order to cover a portion of our liabilities. So that's where that one's coming from. The restricted accounts, those are very similar to the assigned. They're going to be revenue in and expenditures out, so typically they're all zero balances at the end of the year. Food service, you'll see we're running a slight surplus. I do expect that that surplus may grow a little bit. One of the things that we are having to do is continue to incrementally raise our food service, our meal prices, until we are equal to the reimbursed rate of a free meal by the federal government. So even though financially we are in a position where we probably could go a year without raising that, we have to show effort every year that we're trying to close the gap of what we charge our non-benefit meal clients to what we are getting for us reimbursement for those that do qualify for free reduced.
How long would it take to catch up to that? I mean,
I would be willing to bet that if the federal reimbursement rate doesn't change, which it will, but if it didn't change, if we would do a dime increase, we would probably have it caught up in 5 or 6 years. But it's kind of painful to be raising that price when we can really cash flow what we need without raising the price, but it is a requirement. We have to continue to show that we're trying to have our non-benefit meals cost the same as what we're getting reimbursed for a free or reduced meal. Okay. Jumping down to community service, the one thing I just want to point out, school readiness, that pathway, that restricted account, that is going to run in the deficit because some of that expenditure is grant money for pathway dollars. We qualify for $35,000 annually for the next biennium, so we'll have $70,000 going in there. So we're doling out roughly in the neighborhood of $30,000 in scholarships every year. So that's where that large chunk of that deficit is coming from.
Why are there 2 community ed restricted lines? What's the difference?
The first one is the prepaids, that fund for prepaids. So like this next year, it's 0 and 0. So what a prepaid would be is if we had, say we paid for, I'm blanking on an example, but let's just say we were...
For speaker or something?
We pay for something that we use a part of in the 18-19 school year and then a part of in the 19-20 school year. That needs to be booked as a prepaid. So a portion of that expense would be booked in the 18-19 and the rest would be booked in 19-20. And that's what that prepaid account is for. And then they get canceled out at the end of the year. Then the community ed restricted, that is the actual small portion of community ed dollars that are generated off of the $4 per student piece that's actually in the formula. That's part of the funding that community ed gets.
I had the same question. Can you just add prepaid to that description in the yellow? This is just an Excel, isn't it?
Yes.
So just add it to it says community ed restriction, just put in there prepaid.
It is. It is. Under Fund 4 CE prepaids, the line above, that's the one I'm talking about. That's the prepaid line item.
She was asking, I thought about 2 community eds.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what you were addressing.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I was talking about the prepaids. The 321 item is specifically tied to community ed programming. And I would have to get you specifics on it. So the 321 is a UFARS code, but my suspicion is that is the actual community ed programming that, for instance, our fitness center revenue and expenditures going in and out of. Okay, but I will get you the exact definition of that 321 account.
Okay, so there's still 2 of them. Can you just get the description put in that cell? So it's descriptive.
Probably, maybe not.
Shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be in any formulas or anything.
No, but the problem is the description that UFARS is going to have isn't going to fit in that cell unless we want this to turn into a 3-page document.
Oh,
Because all of these, if we're going to start putting their descriptions.
so this is, UFARS is requesting this.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, maybe on tab 2 of a document, you could have a key indicator. That might be,
Sure.
if it wasn't in there,
Sure.
then we don't ask the same questions every time.
Sure. School readiness pathways, we talked about that. And then the bottom ones, if you look at the LTFM line item, that's the biggie down in the bottom. We will have a slight surplus this next year, and once this budget is approved, then the next step is we need to go and submit our LTFM plan based off of this budget. And then we also LTFM is the biggie that needs to be submitted off of this. Smartboard replacement cycle, that is something that is new and just getting started. We have a host of smartboards that are first generation. We need to start getting some sort of replacement plan, otherwise we're eventually going to end up with a whole bunch of smartboards going bad at the same time and not having a way to replace them. So that is new this year. That's what that $40,000 set aside is.
We were going to examine usage of them, weren't we?
Yeah. So
Because some of the classrooms that I'm sure they're used, there's no sense wasting the money there.
well, I think they're all being used.
Okay.
The question comes down to, are they using the interactive capability of the smartboard? And if they are, then we're going to replace it with the new generation smartboard. If they're using it more as a display, like for instance what the TV monitor is doing, then what we're going to do is replace it with a monitor like what's in the seminar room, a 75-inch. The 75-inch monitor is about 40% the cost of an actual new generation smartboard system. So yes, it will be based on how those are being used. Vehicle purchases, again, that is a change from what was originally on this budget sheet. We are just replacing one van, and that's where that $28,000 expenditure is coming, so you can kind of track where that will end up. At the end of the year, we should have about $28,000 in there for that vehicle purchase. Again, that's something that will just grow, and then when we have to go replace 2 vehicles in a year, you'll see a big hit on it, and it will kind of ebb and flow. And then the bottom one, if you go to Fund 7, debt service, that is basically paying off our bond obligations. You'll see next year we have a $842,000 bond payment. That will, obviously, a big chunk of that will expire in December. So next year you could see a different amount in there potentially. And then the last one is Fund 20. So Fund 20 is a student activities account. You guys are going to get to that in new business, and that is something that will be under board control per Minnesota statute. And hopefully that resolution will pass here in the next half hour, and then you will see Fund 20 on this budget sheet as we move forward. Other questions?
Okay, no more questions. Need somebody to introduce a motion to approve the preliminary 2019-20 budget as presented.
I'll move.
Motion by Rick,
Second.
second by Thomas. Any further discussion? No more discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Carried.
Can I add one more thing about the budget? So just so you're aware, now the next step with the budget is November. The auditors will be out. And then in November, you will take a look at the 1920 budget, and that first column will actually be reflected audited numbers. So where exactly we ended the school year 18-19, you will reapprove that budget then with the audited numbers in place. In February, you will see a revised budget for 1920, so you'll see it again. And then we will also start talking about projections for 2021, and the budget cycle for 2021 is going to begin. Okay? So you should plan on seeing the 1920 budget 3 more times.
So, forgive my ignorance, but Bruce just called this preliminary budget, and then you said we're addressing it 3 more times. Is there a point at which we approve it? Did we already approve one for this past?
Well, this one will basically be
So
done
so
in
statute
November.
requires school districts by June 30th
Yeah.
of the prior fiscal year to approve a preliminary budget for the coming school year. That's what you're doing here tonight. That preliminary budget will get us going for the school year. Once
Yep.
the auditors come, you will come then and you will actually reapprove the budget, and it will have audited numbers. Because right now,
Did we approve one in January for 18-19?
no, you did, the board would have in November
Oh,
when the
back in
auditors
last
come.
November. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't think I did, but who knows what I'm voting on.
Okay, any other thing on the topic? Okay, then we're going to move to the VEBA plan. And Matt,
Yep, so I would like to see the district be able to offer an option for employees. Now, a couple things I just want to preface this with. In order for the district to even be able to have any conversations about offering a VEBA, we need to be able to adopt these documents. The next step with this is going to be the process of negotiations and talking with the groups about health insurance contribution and all of that, and potentially that would be the mechanism in which we would be adding language to a contract to talk about a VEBA contribution. So right now, there are no contributions in our master agreements. But if we want to go down the road of increasing our health insurance contribution, which I believe is a school district priority, and we want the availability of having a VEBA as a savings mechanism for employees, the first step is we have to have these plans adopted. That at least opens the door. Then we can go through the negotiations process and see where our health insurance contribution ends up and what that could potentially leave as far as a contribution to a VEBA. But if we aren't going to adopt the agreement and the plan document, then there is no possibility of having this in any of the master agreements. It's just a savings tool that's available, it's out there, but locally we are going to make the decision just not to utilize it. So we're not committing to anything here. We are just committing to at least having VEBA as an option, and then we would deal with the actual logistics of contribution and everything when we come to contract negotiations. Okay? Questions on that?
Now, a VEBA is very similar to an HSA,
Correct.
similar but different.
So the biggest difference is that VEBAs must be employer dollars. So right now in HSA, the employee can add money to it, the employer could put money into it. VEBA, the only thing that can go in there are employer dollars. And when it's just employer dollars, then the one thing that gets waived is that tax, the IRS cap of $7,000 or $7,500, whatever it is. That's waived if it's a VEBA. You don't have to worry about hitting that IRS cap. That is the primary difference between VEBA and HSA.
Okay, but then we're not given the option of matching dollars with an employee contribution matching us. I mean, they don't have that option of adding the employee dollars to it.
Not to the VEBA, they would have to open up an HSA. But you can have an HSA opened and a VEBA.
And a VEBA, okay. Okay.
There are things in the plan document talks about them, but there are things that have to happen. For instance, you would have to declare one of them a limited savings account, whether it be a limited VEBA or a limited HSA. And that's what our insurance agent is going to assist us with to make sure that our employees are in compliance.
In my research, I couldn't find that information. Of course, there's a lot to read.
Yeah, you can have both. It's just you need an insurance person to assist in making sure that they are declared correctly so that you are either funding or accessing dollars from them in the right way.
Okay.
I had the impression of an employer offered, this is called the VEBA. Some companies will call it like an HRA, health reimbursement plan, in the information addresses. So it's like a hybrid. Would that be fair enough to say? So, but it's a good alternative for us if we are able to use it to make things work.
I have two questions. So if we approve this, would that give enough time for this to be in this year's negotiations? And then who else has seen this? Have the bargaining teams seen it, or what's feedback, or?
No, they have not
Okay.
seen it. I actually have been a little hesitant to visit with them about it until we
haven't
have
approved
it.
it. Okay, fair.
Once it's a tool, then I think
Okay.
let's sit down and talk about it. But until it's a tool, I don't know that there's anything to talk about. The only group right now that I do believe would be able to access this would be the principals. Their contract is done. This would be something that they would be able to access. In our conversations with Mahold and Further is the one who actually would administer these VEBAs. They are waiting. In fact, I have a call with them tomorrow to say either yes, they were approved, or no, they weren't. Okay. But they're waiting to hear because they would like to be able to potentially get stuff out if it is approved.
Okay, Anything else on that topic? If not, we're looking for a motion to adopt the 2018 VEBA service agreement and plan documents as presented, and I'll make that motion.
Second.
And a second by Jacob. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Carried. Okay. Then we're going to go to the student activities account. Matt, I'm going to go right back to you.
So this is new, effective July 1, school districts are required to have activity accounts under board control. There is a resolution, and if you looked at the resolution, it does state the statute that is in effect, Chapter 11, Article 1, Section 5 of the 2019 special session. I would like to sit here and debate the pros and cons of this, but the debate is pretty mute at this point. We are being directed to do this, and I don't want to have auditors come out in November and us not have done it, because I know we will be cited for it. What does it mean from a practical, logistical application in Paynesville schools? I think we're going to find out about exactly the process in which requisitions would be filled out and how reimbursement would be processed. In the past, they always needed a claim form that had a student rep and the advisor signing off on. There's some conversation right now on whether that will need to continue or not. As far as what we're planning at Paynesville is, I think you will see very similar requisition process to what we've done in the past. So just know now when the bills are coming each month, you should expect to start seeing things from student activity or student clubs. You're going to see NHS bills, and you're going to see basketball bills that are paid out of the student activity account, not just what comes out of the general fund. So just be aware of that.
From my perspective, I think this is fantastic. And I know that it's something that's being required of us, but we had a period of time where those accounts were here. We were responsible for them, but we really didn't have anything hands-on. We didn't even know what was going on with those accounts to a degree. And I think it's a great process. If we're in charge, we should be able to at least know what's going on, and I think it's going to be great. Have I interpreted this somewhat, Matt?
Yeah, I just want to put
real
up
sketchy area.
I just want to put up the caution sign, because if you're expecting some grand different view, or you're going to see a brand new file of the check register, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. I think what you're going to realize is, a lot of the stuff we were already seeing, we just didn't know that it was being billed to a student activity account. So
that's fine.
I think you're going to see it's a lot of the same expenditures, but who knows? I may be completely wrong on that one, and it may be the best thing since sliced bread. We don't know. We'll soon find out.
So I'm looking for a motion for a resolution regarding the board control of the extracurricular activities.
I'll make that a motion.
Motion from Rick.
Second.
A second from Cheryl. Any further discussion? Linda, you're on.
Ashley?
Aye, yes.
Jake?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Thomas?
Aye.
Maggie?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Okay. And next. 2019-20 membership contracts. I like where you put them all together. But
So
go ahead.
yeah, let me just, they should be, they're every year's, so we'll just run through them. Minnesota School Boards Association, I would not ever recommend a school board not to be a member of that group. Their dues for the 1920 school year are $4,972. Minnesota State High School League, if we want to have activities that are sponsored in the league and part of the league, we owe the league $110 as a district plus $110 per activity. Max Maher would be responsible for filling out that paperwork registering our activities. and sending that invoice in. Resource Training and Solutions, this is new. I am recommending that we join Resource Training and Solutions. I'm aware that in the past, it may have been, 6, 7, 8 years ago that the district was a member, and then I think it was maybe a budgetary reason as to why they opted to not. I would suggest that we join. I don't think it means that we have to participate in everything Resource offers, but I think one of the things that would be beneficial for us would be the facility management assistance programming and stuff. So that is why that recommendation is coming. You would also see a contract coming for them for the facility management partnership. That would be coming at the July meeting. And then Schools for Equity and Education. This is my first year with Schools for Equity and Education. I will say that that organization is quite responsive, very informative. When I've gone to their meetings, I think they are on point with a lot of things that are very pertinent to Paynesville schools, especially at the Capitol and their lobbying efforts. So I would recommend that we maintain our partnership with Schools for Equity and Education. Jake, I know that you have expressed interest in MREA. MREA is not on the list right now. I'm not going to recommend it at this time, but what I would like to do is be able to look at the 1920 school year and then make a determination about MREA. Nothing against MREA. I think they do.
MRE
I just feel they're
stands
more rural
for
and they stand for
Minnesota Rural Education Association. So they do represent a large chunk, a lot of rural school districts. And the one thing that I can tell you is Schools for Equity and Education and MREA, they actually work very closely together on a lot of things as well. So this is where I'm at with the recommendations. I would recommend that these be approved for 1920, and then we will always be evaluating these on a year-by-year basis.
Question.
Yes?
How many activities do we have? Is it around 20? I'm kind of counting my head, off the top of my head.
Remember, we're just counting Minnesota State High School
Right,
activities.
right.
I would just be guessing.
All sports plus
Plus like
Speech,
speech,
one-act plays.
Robotics. I believe the trap team is
Yep.
part of MSHSL.
That would be 20. I just counted the sports in my head, so I just...
Oh, and then I think we have some fine art ones too with choir and band. I believe their contests are also part of Minnesota State High School League as well. So.
Okay.
Well, this is an all-in.
Yes, all of our activities would be a part of this. If you're trying to come up with what the bill's going to be, it's going to be probably around $2,500.
Yep.
Is a ballpark.
Yep.
Okay, so then we're looking for a motion to approve the following memberships or members for 2019-20, Minnesota School Board Association, Minnesota State High School League, Resource Training and Solutions, Schools for Equity and Education.
So moved.
I have a motion from Cheryl. I have a second from Thomas. Any further discussion?
I just have a question about the Resource Training and Solutions. The contract is sharing that some of the trainings in summer. Do we have good participation in that? This is
summer-
new, so.
Yeah, this summer we have excellent participation in that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Carried. Okay, and then review upcoming meetings, and we have a list here.
Let me just run through these. I did forget one, so I want to add one as I go here. We're sitting here tonight on the 26th, or excuse me, tomorrow morning. We're going to be sitting here on the 26th for negotiations at 7 a.m., same location. On the 28th, the paraprofessional food service and custodial negotiations, those will all go on at the elementary school conference room. They will be 3 in a row, 9, 10, and 11. On July 8th is West Central Ed District Board meeting, and that will be right here. We will host the July meeting, so that will be here in this location. And then July 11, we have paraprofessional food service and negotiation and custodial negotiation again. And again, those three will be in the elementary school conference room. And then we will be back here July 16th for the regular board meeting.
Just one board meeting in July, right?
Just one board meeting in July.
I was trying to get that through to somebody.
Yeah, I know you were talking about it. I was passing over me. I knew you had one that was the only one. So we made double the money?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else? If nothing else, we're looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion from Jacob to adjourn. I'm going to have a second. Second from Thomas. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Carried.